Once upon a time in the glitzy world of hip-hop, two titans stood out, Rick Ross and P. Diddy. Their names echoed through the streets and clubs, synonymous with success, luxury, and ambition. But behind the glimmering facades and catchy beats, a rift was brewing. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the Miami skyline, Rick Ross sat in his lavish mansion, contemplating the past few months. The music industry was a whirlwind, and while his empire was flourishing, he felt a storm brewing with his longtime friend and rival, P. Diddy. It all started with a business deal gone awry. Rick had invested heavily in a venture with Diddy, believing in his vision for a new music label. They had celebrated together, toasting to their future success. But as months passed, the promised payouts never arrived. Rick had seen Diddy flaunting his wealth at parties, but when it came to settling debts, he seemed to disappear. One night, after a long day in the studio, Rick heard whispers from industry insiders. Diddy was not only avoiding payment, but also speaking negatively about him behind closed doors. Frustrated, Rick decided it was time to confront the situation head-on. Rick invited a few trusted friends to his mansion, transforming his living room into a makeshift war room. With a bottle of Ciroc on the table and the echoes of their past camaraderie lingering in the air, he laid out his plan. "We're gonna make this right," he declared, determination etched across his face. "No one disrespects the boss." The next day, Rick donned his signature sunglasses and headed to a high-profile event where Diddy was rumored to make an appearance. As the crowd swelled, Rick spotted him, surrounded by admirers and flashing cameras. The moment felt electric. Rick approached, and the atmosphere shifted. "Diddy?" he called out, his voice cutting through the chatter. Diddy turned, a surprised smile fading as he recognized the tension in Rick's tone. "Rick! What's up, man?" Diddy replied, his charm flickering like the lights around them. "We need to talk," Rick said, leaning in. The crowd fell silent, sensing the brewing storm. "About what?" Diddy feigned nonchalance, though his eyes darted nervously. "About the $25 million you owe me and the things you've been saying behind my back." The words hung heavy in the air, and Rick's friends watched, anticipation brewing. Diddy's smile faltered. "Come on, Ross. We're friends. You know how the game goes." Rick shook his head. "This isn't just about the money, it's about respect. We built this industry together, and I won't let anyone tarnish that." A tense silence enveloped them, and the crowd watched, captivated. Diddy's facade cracked slightly, revealing a hint of vulnerability. "I've had my struggles, man. You know how it is. Struggles or not, you don't throw away loyalty for temporary gains," Rick countered, his voice steady. "You either pay what you owe or face the consequences." Diddy hesitated, the weight of their history hanging between them. Finally he nodded, albeit reluctantly. "All right, let's fix this. I'll get you the money." The tension began to lift, and Rick could sense the shift. "Good. I value our friendship, but remember, loyalty is everything in this game." As they shook hands, the crowd erupted into applause, the tension dissipating into a buzz of excitement. Though their relationship would take time to heal, that day marked a turning point. Rick left the event, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. He had stood his ground, reclaiming not just his financial stake, but his dignity in an industry often fraught with betrayal. As he drove through the vibrant streets of Miami, he knew that loyalty and respect would always be his guiding principles, no matter the price. The weeks that followed the confrontation between Rick Ross and P. Diddy were a whirlwind of activity. Rick kept busy in the studio, pouring his heart into new tracks while simultaneously overseeing his business ventures. But even as he focused on his music, the shadow of their rivalry lingered. Diddy, for his part, seemed determined to mend fences. He reached out to Rick, inviting him to industry events and private parties, often with a promise to clear the financial air. But Rick was cautious. Trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild. Still, he knew the importance of staying connected in the ever-shifting landscape of hip-hop. One night, Rick received an unexpected call from Diddy. "Let's do a collaboration," Diddy suggested, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "It'll be epic, and it'll show everyone we're still the kings of this game." Rick considered the proposal. A collaboration could be a powerful statement. It would send a message to their fans and the industry that they were united, but it also meant stepping into the spotlight with someone he felt wary of. "All right, I'm in," Rick finally said, "but we do it my way." They agreed to meet at a renowned studio in Miami, the same place where many legendary tracks had been born. As Rick arrived, the energy in the room was palpable. Musicians, producers, and creatives buzzed around, excited for the collaboration that everyone was talking about. When Diddy walked in, he exuded confidence. They exchanged greetings, and for a moment, it felt as if the past was behind them. They hit the studio, and the creative energy flowed. Rick laid down a heavy bass line, while Diddy's catchy hooks wove seamlessly into the track. It was an exhilarating process, one that reminded them both of their early days in the industry. However, as the session progressed, Rick couldn't shake the feeling that Diddy was still playing a game. He noticed Diddy taking more creative control than they had discussed, often pushing for a sound that Rick wasn't comfortable with. Tension began to simmer beneath the surface, and after a particularly heated exchange over a verse, Rick slammed his hand on the mixing console. "Diddy, we agreed on this sound. You can't just switch it up because it's what you want," Rick said, frustration bubbling over. "Come on, Ross. This is about evolution. You can't keep clinging to the past," Diddy replied, his voice rising. The argument escalated, and it felt as if the weight of their unresolved issues was about to explode. Just then, the studio door swung open, and one of the producers, sensing the tension, stepped in. "How about we take a break? Fresh air might help," he suggested, hoping to diffuse the situation. Rick and Diddy nodded, stepping out onto the balcony overlooking the Miami skyline. The city sparkled under the night sky, a stark contrast to the storm brewing between them. "Look, man," Rick started, leaning against the railing. "I get that we're both passionate, but this is more than just a track. It's about our legacy. We can't let pride get in the way." Diddy sighed, his earlier bravado fading. "You're right, I didn't mean to steamroll you. I want us to stand out, you know? I want people to remember this track." Rick nodded, understanding the pressure Diddy felt. "We can make something incredible together without losing what makes us who we are. Let's combine our strengths." With that, the tension began to dissipate. They returned to the studio, each more open to compromise. As they worked late into the night, ideas flowed, and they created a track that combined Rick's raw intensity with Diddy's polished flair. It felt electric. Weeks later, when they dropped the single, it exploded. The collaboration was hailed as a monumental comeback for both artists, a perfect blend of their distinct styles. The streets buzzed with excitement, and fans celebrated the return of the two titans of hip-hop. But the journey didn't end there. The success brought them back together in a way neither expected. They began to tour together, sharing stages and rekindling a friendship forged in the fires of competition. They laughed over old stories and reminisced about their early days in the industry. As they traveled the world, they also faced new challenges. Critics who tried to sow discord between them, rising artists who wanted to claim their spots, and the pressures of fame. But through it all, they remained united, proving that loyalty and respect could withstand even the fiercest storms. One night, after a sold-out show in Los Angeles, they sat on the rooftop of their hotel, looking out over the city that had witnessed their rise. "Who would have thought we'd be here?" Diddy mused, a grin spreading across his face. Rick chuckled, taking a sip of his drink. "I always knew we had something special. It's just good to have my brother by my side again." Under the stars, they toasted to friendship, legacy, and the music that had brought them together, and would continue to do so for years to come.